Now the story that might never have surfaced if someone hadn't picked up his home video camera. We've all seen the pictures of Los Angeles police officers beating a man they had just pulled over. The city's police chief said today he will support criminal charges against some of the men. Here's ABC's Gary Shepard.
The 3 police officers facing felony criminal charges were among a group of 15 who stopped a 25-year-old black man last Saturday night, then beat him, kicked him, and clubbed him, unaware that an amateur photographer was recording the incident on videotape. Los Angeles Police Chief Daryl Gates looked at the tape and said he thinks assault with a deadly weapon will be one of the charges.
In our review, we find that the officers struck him with batons between 53 and 56 times. One officer rendered 6 kicks and one officer 1 kick.
Civil rights organizations say the Los Angeles Police Department has a history of brutality and misconduct that goes back a quarter of a century, including one incident that sparked the Watts riots. So far this year, there have been more than 125 complaints of police misconduct filed with watchdog organizations.
We no longer want to have to wake up each morning not knowing what fear to expect next. Today, we are not sure that the police is there to protect us.
But Chief Gates today called the LAPD a model department and said he has no plans to resign. Gary Shepard, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Wait, are we recording?
Thanks for giving us the time to interview you, Peaches. So we really appreciate it.
Is that funny?
No, not at all. Sorry. So it says here that you are affiliated with a gang and sell drugs?
My voice is going to be changed, right?
Yeah, it is. Can you just answer the question?
Yeah, sure.
That's not an answer. Oh. Do you know about the Rodney King incident?
Of course. Dang pigs always using excessive force.
What about him speeding away and charging the cops after he got out of the car?
I would be terrified of a bop trying to pull up on me. They're always framing us and saying stuff that we never did. He did the right thing.
Are you even scared to go out in public with cops all around?
Nah, buh. I'm always strapped.
Hey, did anybody check this guy?
Welcome. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Alright, let's start off by giving the viewers a little background about yourself.
Well, my name's James P. O'Neill, and I've personally been with the police force for 27 years now, and chief for 7 of those years. I specialize in the training of proper de-escalation techniques for all incoming rookie officers.
Alright, very well, folks. You can definitely see we have a very specialized individual with us today to comment on some questions we have for him. Now, Chief O'Neill, I'm assuming you've heard of the recent issues involving Rodney King and 4 police officers.
Yes, of course. Who hasn't heard about the incident? It's been all over the news for the past week.
So what are your thoughts on the force used at the time by the police officers?
Well, I think that the force used at the time was a bit over the top. Yes, Mr. King did charge at the officers first and resisted the initial attempt of arrest, but the extreme amounts of force used could have been handled much better. The amount of hits Mr. King received from the officers was too much to be justified as a just reaction to someone resisting arrest.
Alright. What are some precautions you would tell your fellow officers when they are out in the field dealing with everyday incidents?
Well, there are a couple rules that I always tell my new incoming recruits and even experienced officers. One of those rules is to always have your own camera rolling. Video proof is a major piece of evidence that can be used in the courts when accused of something. My other rule would be to always act professional no matter where you are. You never know when someone could be filming you, and if you do know they are filming you, act as if there's no concern to you.
Alright. After incidents like this one, many of the good cops, including yourself, get a bad reputation. Do you or have you ever considered leaving the field and pursuing another job?
Well, a couple times I have thought of trying out a different field or work, but something about this job just always pulls me back. Sometimes it's the fellow officers and the amazing personalities I get to experience every day, but most of the time it's the appreciation and love you get from the families and people who truly appreciate what you do for them.
thank you for joining us today, Mr. Freddie G. Holmes. I understand that you were in the car at the time of the Rodney King beating.
Yeah, that's true. I was a good friend of Rodney's at the time.
So how do you feel, hearing that all 4 officers were originally acquitted of all crimes?
It's just typical of the justice system nowadays. Constantly, these all-white juries rule against minorities in the courtroom and are always defending the stereotypical white cops. Over and over again, racist white cops judge and racially profile innocent minorities. This type of cultural racism has been around since the start of America, and we've barely seen any change in trying to disintegrate it.
Now, when you were laying there on the ground, watching your friend being beaten by the police officers, what was going through your mind?
To be honest, man, I was scared for my life. I was just sitting there, watching 4 grown men just smacking the life out of Rodney. I was just sitting there. I had no power to do anything and help out my friend. It was a terrible experience.
In your opinion, do you think that the LA riots were just a response to the mistrial of the 4 officers who beat Rodney King?
Of course, man. Something needed to be done. And sometimes it takes force to get your opinion across and establish attention for something you are passionate about, such as racial profiling from police.
But what about the innocent white people, or just people in general that were injured and affected by these riots?
Well, sometimes things just happen. Occasionally you have to sacrifice things to achieve your final goal.
Well, thank you for giving us your opinion on this fine evening.
No problem. Thanks for hearing me out.
Officers Larry Powell and Timothy Wind, both indicted last week in the King attack. It's not clear who operated the computer, but after that incident, one of them typed, "I haven't beaten anyone this bad in a long time." And over their police radio laughter as they called an ambulance for the hog-tied and beaten motorist. This from a supervising sergeant to a command center. You just had a big-time use of force, tased and beat the suspect of CHP pursuit, big time. The command center replied, "Oh well, I'm sure the lizard didn't deserve it. Ha ha."
On cross-examination, the prosecution could not shake Kuhn's story.
And is that the Los Angeles Police Department policy, that is, to keep hitting somebody with the baton until the person complies?
Yes, sir.
That's what the Los Angeles Police Department teaches?
That's true, sir.
To hit somebody until he complies?
That's correct. Then, a bombshell. One of the 4 police officers turned against the other 3, saying he thought they had overreacted.
What I recall was I didn't see Mr. King moving, and I thought Officer Powell was out of control then.
Ted Brasino was the one cop who broke ranks and testified against his fellow officers.
I didn't understand what was going on out there. I just didn't understand it. It didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't see why they were doing what they were doing.
Well, did you think it was right or wrong or what?
Wrong.
All right.
Despite Brasino's bombshell, the defense offered the mainly white middle-class jury powerful reasons why it should ignore Brasino's testimony and acquit the 4 officers.
These officers, these defendants, do not get paid to lose street fights.
Only 4 officers stand trial, but their attorneys want the jury to believe much more is at stake. They argued that guilty verdicts would be a blow to police authority and invite anarchy.
And this is not a game out there. This is real life.
That is a job that falls to these police officers. The line between chaos and society.
But Prosecutor White fought back. It was an embarrassment, he said, even a tragedy, that the officers were hiding behind their badges.
I knew at one point I would hear about the thin blue line. It is embarrassing to every man and woman across this country who puts on a uniform every day and goes out and does their job, and they follow the law.
Were found not guilty on all but 1 count.